Hello and welcome to CBA. My name is Balogun Abdillahi. I welcome you to your show, our show, CBA News Review. Today we'll be discussing about the issue that affect our territory, which is information and journalism. With me on this program are my co-host, I have Abdillahi Hassan and Ngugi. You are welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Now, we'll go into the show. If you heard the word journalist, what comes to your mind? Who is journalist?
Well, journalists are the mirror of the society. It tells people about the society they live in, and it is very essential and critical, very vital to the functioning of society. You know what they say, that Rome could not have continued the Roman Empire because they didn't have functioning journalism, a way to disseminate news in a timely manner, in a factual and reliable manner. And that's very critical for the information society that we live in now, where information is commodity, where information is critical to the function of life as we know it.
Do you think journalists are supposed to work in a free and fair environment, or journalists are to be restricted to some extent?
Well, like Abdillahi said, a journalist does the work of being the mirror of the society. That is, he informs people. And you know, information comes with responsibility. A journalist should be able to convey information freely, but a journalist should remember that the information he's giving out has a role, and it might affect the society negatively or positively. So a journalist should be able to convey information freely because we have freedom of expression, but still there are guidelines, there are principles, there are values and ethics that guide journalists in their work.
Yes, exactly. There are guidelines and principles that guide journalists. But recently in Somaliland, the government of this country, brings some restriction to journalists in the land, especially to the private-owned stations. What can you say about this?
Well, to give you an idea, first, the directive from the Minister of Information is that all the privately owned television stations, especially those owned from Somaliland, they have to segregate news to local and international, and to give priority to the local news. That's the news of events and the happenings in Somaliland. Well, but that's very tricky because local depends on your audience. Many of the television stations here broadcast and work both in Somaliland and neighboring Somalia. They have audiences in both countries. So what they do is that they use their judgment, they evaluate the news, and then they prioritize the biggest stories. If they get some stories from Somaliland, some stories from Somalia, some stories from even Ethiopia and the Somali region of Ethiopia, they will just evaluate them and say which one is the biggest, and then they will give precedence to that story. And now the Minister of Information is taken away that right, is taken away that decision making from the media by dictating to them how to line up their stories and how to present their news.
Okay. Now, do you think this restriction is going to help journalists in doing their work according to the ethics and the scope of this work?
Well, first we need to analyze what these restrictions are. Are they valid? How do they affect the society? Remember, I'll give the example of a banana. If you take a rotten banana and put it among bananas that are okay, like they are not rotten, give them a period of 3 days, all the other bananas will be rotten too, So what happens in other countries outside Somaliland also affects the people of Somaliland. So when you tell a journalist not to prioritize news that is from outside, then you're restricting people from knowing how their surrounding is. And for example, if I'm a businessman and I operate my business in other countries, I want to know how my business will be affected if something is happening in my neighboring countries, because I will not go there, I will not invest there, So all this affects us, whether it's outside, whether it's here. So these restrictions, we really need to analyze them. And the question is, when these restrictions are being set, do journalists have a say? Are they debatable? What are our role in these restrictions?
Well, a meeting was held at the office of the Minister of Information at the day that this directive, these new restrictions were, issued. And in that meeting, some of the journalists tried to protest this issue, as we have come to know later. But they were told that this is directive, this is an order from the government, it is not up for debate. So that was something like dictated from above. So no room for discussion there. And to give you more information about this, let's go back. For instance, in the last month, there were several incidents, we can say, that brought the media against the government, or the government against the media. So, for instance, this came at the heels of the closure of a new television station, independent news television station, that's Real TV, and the detention of its owner. That was on Friday night and on Saturday, September 6th and September 7th. Then there was Haduna News, also a news site that was blocked by a court order. And that was, ordered the internet service providers to block that website, that news site, from the public because it has published a report on corruption allegations. Then there was, before that, the Minister of Information has threatened the media with, permanent closure of outlets, vowing that if he closes a television station or an outlet, it will never see the light again. So what all of these are bringing together is that give us an idea of the kind of environment that journalists here in Somaliland are operating in, which is supposed to be free and fair and independent, but now, unfortunately, is suppressive, oppressive, and, threatening, honestly.
Now, thank you. I want to quickly go to that Real TV issue. Now, this station was shut down by police without any prior notice or any court order. Did you think this is like law-abiding act?
Well, I don't know if the police understand the media law, because you have the media law first of all.
Yes.
And I think before you arrest me, you need to verify, why are you arresting me for? Just don't come and pick me and close up my business and my TV, and you're not giving me valid reasons as to why you are arresting me. On the other hand, the reason why this TV was closed down is because of something that was put on air that was taboo, So somehow, this TV station broadcasted something that was not okay with the society. So they might have been on the wrong side. On the other hand, we need to also think about what we are relaying, the information we are giving out, how does it affect the society? So probably it had a negative impact. When people see this, what does it tell? Yeah.
Okay. Now, on the other hand, I still want to talk about this police, because just like what Wangui said, does this police understand what we call media law? Because now, I want to believe that the primary objective for police is to secure the life of citizens. But now in Somaliland, police are hunting for journalists. Do you think this is very good?
Well, actually, I disagree with that characterization, because it is not the police who is doing this. The police are, just executing their orders. It's not the police to blame. It is the government who gives these orders. And the government, I bet, knows the regulations and the rules of the country. So if they are, ignoring it, or if they are going against the laws, it is on purpose. So let's not scapegoat the police, which are doing a fantastic job actually at securing the lives and the properties of the people here in Somaliland.
Okay, thank you. Since we all agree that police is doing a fantastic job, I think I give kudos to the police of Somaliland. Now, the Association of Journalists in Somaliland, they also talk about this. They even order government to reopen this Real TV and the quick release of the owner. Now, do you have anything to buttress this point?
Well, I think this association is right when it is asking the government to reopen these TV stations. and to release those who have been arrested, because this is only a small percentage of a negative thing that they have done. There are so many other good things that the media does. It informs the people, it relays information, even government information to the people. It creates awareness. So we need to look at what are the roles played by the media in our society. Horel TV, it has done so many other things that are good. And shutting it down is like you're keeping them out from informing the society. So I think what this organization is saying, release these people, let them continue with their role in the society of informing people.
Okay. Do you have anything to back that up?
Well, the thing is that these new attacks on the freedom and the independence of media and the infringement on the editorial independence of the television stations and the news outlets is also, undermines the ethos and the values of Somaliland of being liberal democracy, and it also hurts its credibility as burdened democracy, as a beacon of hope and democratic oasis in a tumultuous region. So actually what we are doing, what the government is doing with this infringement is that it's hurting Somaliland locally and its image internationally. So the government will be well advised to stop harassing the media.
Okay. Now, as it is now, I think we need to talk to our people, our colleagues. Do you have any word of advice to them on how and how to operate in the land since situation is like this?
For me, I'll tell my fellow journalists, like whatever information you're giving out, remember what you were trained. As a journalist, we all go for training, and there are basic principles and ethics that we need to follow. Anything that is defamation, obviously you have to avoid it. You have to be truthful. Whatever you're telling, make sure that it is a fact. You have also to be independent. By independence, I mean you're not supposed to give information on the basis of being supporting certain interests, political interests or financial interests. So these are the basic rules of journalism. So let us go back to our books, let us go back to what we were trained to do, and let us do that.
The human rights group in the land also makes some comment about this issue. Now, do you think their comments can be of any help to the journalists?
Human Rights Center is doing a fantastic job at standing by the media and guarding. It's doing its job as a civil society organization for standing up to the civil liberties of the people, and the journalists and the people of Somaliland in general can use the help of many civil society organizations as Human Rights Center. So I applaud them really for their job they are doing. It's very commendable.
Thank you. I think as it is now, we will go on a short break. So when we come back, we will be giving you more details. Thank you. Welcome back to the show. Now we are still continuing with the issue that we are discussing. We all heard what journalism is, and we now understand how we're supposed to work. Though in the land there are some restrictions, which I believe is for good, and I also believe our members will, draw to that. Now, on the final note on this issue of journalists, I want you to advise the federal government of Somaliland on the way to handle journalists.
For me, I would say there's no republic and there's no country that can exist without the media.
Yes.
Media is everything.
Yes.
Everybody needs to know what is happening in his or her country. So the government needs to find ways on how they can work positively and in a friendly manner with the media. Let them create an environment where journalists can operate peacefully and in a secure way. And the journalists also, let them also be friends with the government Let us work together in the government. Not that we should not say anything that the government has done or criticize the government, no. But we need to find a way in which we work together and let us develop our societies. Because through the media, we will develop our societies socially, economically, and politically.
That's a very good one. And now to you, she has just talked to the government. I want you to talk to our colleagues. The executive body, which they are like, okay, is there any measure they should put in place? I doubt maybe to organize a training or to do, I don't know. Do you?
Well, the journalist is the most important thing is that for them to maintain their credibility, for that they have to be independent. They have to fight tooth and nail to be independent of fear and want. So they have to, that's the only way they can maintain the respect and the credibility with the public. So they have to stand up for themselves. It's the Constitution of Somaliland guarantees the editorial independent press. The freedom of expression is enshrined in the Constitution. So it's up to them to take advantage of this environment, this legal protection is, and serve their population very well and credibly.
Now to our colleagues, we are all together. We are saying the same thing. Let us work as a trained journalist, and we should not violate the rule of the land. Thank you. Now we'll be moving to the issue of South Africa and Nigeria, which is another case entirely. Recently, there have been this issue of xenophobic attack in South Africa, where they are, they are looting foreigners' shops in their place, telling them to leave their country. Now, the government of Nigeria, they took the bomb by because recently the president of Federal Republic of Nigeria made an announcement that Nigerians should leave South Africa. What do you say to this statement?
Well, if it was me, I would rather die in my own country than in a foreign land for having committed no crime. And that is why President Buhari is telling the people, come back home, free repatriation. And just the other day we saw more than 600 Nigerians have accepted to go back home. And even there's this airline that has offered to send them back home for free. The situation in South Africa is something that is very serious because these people have committed no crime at all. Yes, South Africa is saying these are the people who are responsible for drug trafficking, but not everybody who is a foreigner in South Africa is trafficking drugs. And in fact, the main issue here is the drug user. The person who is using this drug, they need to deal with the issue of drug addiction in South Africa, not the people who they are claiming to be selling drugs to them. The other issue is they are looting property. Yes. I leave my country to go and invest in this country because I have seen a business opportunity. Then you come, steal my goods, destroy my property, beat me up, and in other situations, kill me. Who would stay there? Nobody would stay there. So I think the way we are seeing right now, we will find a situation where the rest of Africa is afraid of going to South Africa, and we know that no country can exist independently.
If Nigerians leave South Africa, I want to believe some other country too would like to take suit because nobody wants to die. If all foreigners leave South Africa because of this xenophobic attack, what do you think is going to happen to South Africa economic in the next future?
Well, that would be a huge blow to South Africa because foreigners, especially the Africans, contribute hugely to the economy of South Africa, especially in the areas of entrepreneurship and business, bringing new businesses and investments. The problem is that some people in South Africa believe that foreigners are stealing jobs from them, which is not the case because these guys who come from other African nations, they are not seeking jobs. Actually, they are creating jobs. So it's not like they are taking jobs that already existed for the South African people. No, they come here, they invest their money, and they invest their resources, their education, their experience, their knowledge, and then they create wealth for this country. They pay taxes, they employ people, and even they supply the people with some valuable services and products that if they were not there, the people wouldn't have got it. Because the reason they go there is that they have seen the opportunity to provide these services and products. So it will be a huge loss to South Africa. The other thing is that South Africa is also losing credibility with the Africans, because South Africa, the country of Nelson Mandela, the struggle against the apartheid, the struggle for freedom and independence, which other Africans stood behind South Africa, and now these xenophobic attacks that are targeting their fellow Africans is putting down the brand and the trademark of South Africa down.
You just mentioned over 600 Nigeria are planning to go back, are planning to leave South Africa to Nigeria. Do you have anything to tell the government of Nigeria? Because these people are coming, you know where they are, I believe they are doing one or two things there. Now they will be going to Nigeria as jobless people. Now, what do you think Nigeria government should do to assist these people so that they will not turn to something else when they get back to Nigeria?
Well, indeed, it is true. They are going back to their homes jobless. They had established businesses in South Africa. They have lost them. So this is another community of people who are jobless in Nigeria. I think the government needs to assist these people so that they are able to settle down back home. Also, they need psychological encouragement, and these people have suffered. They've gone through trauma. So the government needs to organize ways in which they can get therapy, because first of all, they have been tormented. Some have been tormented physically, mentally. Yeah. The government of Nigeria really needs to support these people who are coming back. It is a good thing they are doing, that they are providing them with free repatriation back home, because probably they have lost money, they have lost their businesses, and they probably don't even have money to pay tickets back home. So they need also to support them. Once they are home, they need to support them. And I think the Nigerian government also needs to work on the people in Nigeria to, there's this hate now they have. They have developed some hate against South Africans. We've seen even Nigerians themselves destroying South African businesses. So they also need to, a lot of awareness needs to be done, a lot of counseling needs to be done. And I think it's time the president of South Africa and the president of Nigeria sit down together and find a way forward.
So this is where we'll be drawing the curtain of the program, and I believe our Nigerians from South Africa, I wish them a safe trip back home. And when you get home, make sure that you behave yourself. I understand and I can feel your pain. And I believe with grace of God, with time, everything will be okay. I thank you very much, my co-host. And for the viewers at home, I believe you've been able to get one or two things from this. And to the journalists, we are one. Let's remain safe. And I believe the government is working in our side. Let's support them. We can do it together. Just like my colleague said, there is no any developed word that you will say without media involvement. That's why we are important and government tool is important. Let's do everything in a simple way. Thank you.